My wife disappeared on a Tuesday. I remember the exact moment I realized something was wrong. It was 6:47 p.m., and I was standing in the kitchen staring at my phone, watching the minutes tick by. Delphine was never late. In 9 years of marriage, she had never once been more than 10 minutes late without calling. By 7:30, I had called her 6 times. By 8 o'clock, I had called her office, her friends, her gym. By 9 o'clock, I was driving through the streets of our neighborhood, looking for her car, looking for any sign of where she might have gone. By midnight, I was sitting in a police station, filling out a missing persons report while a detective watched me with eyes that were already suspicious. "Mr. Hale, when did you last see your wife?" "This morning, before she left for work." "And what was her demeanor? Did she seem upset, distracted?" "No, she was normal. She kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, said she'd be home by 6. Did you have any arguments recently, any marital problems?" I looked at the detective, a tired-looking man named Paxton Greer, who had clearly seen too many missing wife cases that ended with the husband in handcuffs. "No," I said, "we were happy. We are happy." He wrote something in his notebook. I didn't know it then, but that was the moment I became a suspect. The first 3 days were a blur of interviews, searches, and unanswered questions. The police searched our house. They went through Delphine's computer, her phone records, her bank accounts. They interviewed our neighbors, her co-workers, her friends from yoga class. They found nothing. No signs of struggle, no evidence of foul play, no indication that she had planned to leave. Her car was found in the parking lot of a shopping center 3 miles from her office, locked, with her purse still inside. She had simply vanished. "Mr. Hale, can you account for your whereabouts between 5 and 7 p.m. on Tuesday?" "I was at home, working in my office. I'm a freelance architect. I work from home 3 days a week." "Can anyone verify that?" "My daughter, Sparrow. She was doing homework in the living room." "Your 8-year-old daughter." The implication was clear. An 8-year-old's testimony wouldn't hold up against a grieving, or guilty, husband. "I didn't do anything to my wife," I said, fighting to keep my voice calm. "I love her. I would never hurt her." Detective Greer nodded, his expression unchanged. "Of course, Mr. Hale. We're just trying to establish the facts." But I could see it in his eyes. He had already made up his mind. By day 5, the media had found me. I don't know who tipped them off. Maybe someone at the police station, maybe a neighbor looking for 15 minutes of fame. But suddenly, there were vans parked outside my house, cameras pointed at my windows, reporters shouting questions every time I stepped outside. "Mr. Hale, do you have any comment on your wife's disappearance?" "Mr. Hale, is it true the police consider you a person of interest?" "Mr. Hale, did you kill your wife?" I stopped going outside. Sparrow stopped going to school. The other parents were afraid to let their children near her, afraid of association, afraid of the spotlight, afraid of whatever darkness might have touched our family. My daughter was 8 years old, and she was being treated like the child of a murderer. "Daddy, where's Mommy?" I held her on my lap, trying to find words that would make sense to a child. "I don't know, sweetheart, but the police are looking for her. They're going to find her." "Why are those people outside with cameras?" "Because they want to know where Mommy is too. Why don't they just ask us?" I didn't have an answer for that. By day 7, my friends had stopped answering my calls. I understood it in a way. They were scared. They didn't know what to believe. The news was running stories every night. My face on the screen, the word suspect hovering. Nearby, pundits speculating about what I might have done. Mark, my best friend since college, texted me on day 6. "Sorry, man. Need some space right now. This is all too much." Jennifer, Delphine's closest friend, blocked my number after the police interviewed her. My neighbor of 7 years started parking his car in the garage so he wouldn't have to wave at me. One by one, the people I had counted on disappeared. Not like Delphine, not physically, but emotionally. They retreated behind walls of silence and averted eyes. Only 2 people stood by me. My brother Kieran drove up from Boston on day 3 and refused to leave. He slept on my couch, fielded phone calls, made sure Sparrow ate her meals. He never once asked me if I had done something to Delphine. He simply believed me. My mother, Rosalind, arrived on day 4. She was 69 years old, had survived a heart attack 2 years earlier, and shouldn't have been traveling. But she came anyway, because her son needed her. "I know you, Rafferty," she said, holding my face in her hands. "I know the man I raised, and that man could never hurt anyone. The police don't think so. The police are doing their job. That doesn't mean they're right." She moved into the guest room and took over caring for Sparrow, giving me space to deal with the detectives, the lawyers, the endless parade of people who looked at me like I was already guilty. By day 11, I was starting to lose hope. No leads, no sightings, no ransom demands, nothing. The police had searched forests and fields. They had dragged ponds. They had issued alerts to every state in the country. But Delphine had vanished as completely as if she had never existed. Detective Greer called me in for another interview, the 7th in 11 days. This time, there was a new face in the room, a federal agent named Morrison who watched me with flat, evaluating eyes. "Mr. Hale, we've been looking into your wife's background, and we're having some difficulty verifying certain aspects of her history." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Her college records, for example. She told you she attended Georgetown, correct?" "Yes, she has a degree in marketing. It's on our wall at home." "Georgetown has no record of a student named Delphine Carter attending during the years she claimed." That's not possible. I've seen her diploma. I've seen photographs from her graduation." Detective Greer and Agent Morrison exchanged a look. "Mr. Hale, when you met your wife, how much did you know about her past?" "She told me she grew up in Virginia. Her parents died when she was young, car accident. She was raised by an aunt in Alexandria. She went to Georgetown, worked in marketing, moved here for a job." "And you verified any of this?" "Why would I verify my wife's background? I trusted her. I loved her." Morrison leaned forward. "Mr. Hale, we're not suggesting you did anything wrong, but we need you to consider the possibility that your wife may not have been entirely honest with you about who she was." I stared at him. "What are you saying?" "We're saying that the woman you married may have been using a false identity, and if that's true, then her disappearance may not be what it appears to be." I left the police station that night with more questions than answers. Who was my wife? And if she wasn't who she said she was, who had I been living with for the past 9 years? Day 12. I was sitting in my living room staring at the wall when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Not a news van. I had learned to recognize the sound of those. This was something different, quieter, more deliberate. I looked out the window. An unmarked black sedan was parked behind my car. As I watched, the driver's door opened and a woman stepped out. She was in her mid-40s with sharp features and steel-gray hair pulled back in a severe bun. She wore a dark suit, not the kind detectives wore, something more expensive, more tailored, and she moved with the confidence of someone who was used to being in control. She walked to my front door, knocked 3 times, firm, decisive. I opened the door. "Mr. Rafferty Hale?" "Yes." She reached into her jacket and pulled out a badge. It was silver, embossed with an eagle and a series of letters I didn't recognize, not FBI, not CIA, something else. "My name is Colette Ashford. I'm with the National Security Agency, Special Operations Division." "NSA? What does the NSA want with me?" "May I come in, Mr. Hale? What I have to tell you is not something we should discuss on your doorstep." I stepped aside. Let her in, closed the door behind her. She looked around the living room, at the family photographs on the walls, the toys Sparrow had left scattered on the carpet, the evidence of a life that had shattered 11 days ago. "Where is your daughter?" "At my mother's house down the street. I didn't want her here when, whatever this is happens." "Good, that's good." She turned to face me. "Mr. Hale, I need you to sit down." I sat. She remained standing. "What I'm about to tell you is classified. By law, you are not permitted to share this information with anyone. Not the police, not your family, not your friends. If you violate this restriction, you will be subject to prosecution under the Espionage Act. Do you understand?" "I don't understand anything. Just tell me where my wife is." Agent Ashford took a breath. "Your wife is alive." The words hit me like a physical blow. For 11 days, I had been preparing myself for the worst, for the call that would tell me they had found her body, for the nightmare that would never end. And now this woman was telling me she was alive. Where is she? Is she okay? Can I see her? I can't tell you where she is, but I can tell you that she is safe, and she is unharmed. Then why did she leave? Why didn't she call? Why did she let me think? "Mr. Hale," Agent Ashford's voice was firm. "I need you to listen to me very carefully. What I'm about to tell you will be difficult to hear, but you deserve to know the truth." She paused. "The person you married, that person doesn't exist." I didn't understand. The words made no sense. Delphine was my wife, the mother of my child, the woman I'd slept beside for 9 years, shared meals with, built a life with. She was real. She existed. "What are you talking about?" Agent Ashford sat down across from me. "The woman you knew as Delphine Carter Hale was born Mira Elena Vance. She was orphaned at age 8 when her parents were killed in an accident. That part of her story was true. But she wasn't raised by an aunt in Virginia. She was placed in a government program for exceptionally gifted children, a program designed to identify and train future intelligence operatives." "Intelligence operatives? I mean, she was recruited by the NSA at age 22. She spent the next decade working undercover in various capacities, gathering intelligence on threats to national security. She was one of our most valuable assets." I felt like the floor was tilting beneath me. "You're saying my wife was a spy?" "I'm saying your wife was an undercover operative who was assigned to create a new identity and establish a life that would serve as deep cover for long-term surveillance operations." "Surveillance of what?" Agent Ashford hesitated. "Of you, Mr. Hale." The room went very quiet. I could hear my own heartbeat, the ticking of the clock on the wall, the distant sound of traffic on the street outside. "Me? Why would the government be surveilling me?" "Your company, Hale Architecture, has contracts with several defense contractors. Some of those contracts involve sensitive infrastructure projects. Foreign intelligence services have shown interest in gaining access to those projects through various means. So you sent an agent to spy on me, to monitor you, to ensure that no foreign actors attempted to recruit you or compromise your work. It was a precautionary measure, not an accusation." I stood up, started pacing. "So everything was a lie? Our entire marriage was a lie?" "No." Agent Ashford's voice softened slightly. "That's what I need you to understand, Mr. Hale. Mira was assigned to monitor you, but what happened between you, the relationship, the love, your daughter, that wasn't part of the mission." "How can you possibly know that?" "Because she told us. Multiple times, over multiple years, she requested to be removed from the assignment. She said her feelings had become compromised, that she couldn't maintain professional distance. We denied those requests. You denied. She was too valuable an asset to remove. Her cover was perfect. Her access was unparalleled, and by then, she had a child with you. A child who served as additional cover and gave her even deeper integration into your life. Sparrow was part of your cover story. Sparrow was not planned, but once she was born, she became a factor in operational decisions." Agent Ashford paused. "Mr. Hale, I know this is difficult to hear, but I need you to understand. Mira loved you. She loved your daughter. That was real. It was also the reason she had to leave." I stopped pacing. "What do you mean?" 11 days ago, an intelligence operation went wrong. A foreign operative named Nikolai Volkov obtained information that identified Mira as an American agent. Once her cover was blown, everyone connected to her became a target, including you, including your daughter. So she left to protect us? She left because we ordered her to. She had no choice. If she had stayed, Volkov's people would have come for all of you. By disappearing, she drew their attention away from you and allowed us to neutralize the threat. Neutralize? What does that mean? Volkov was captured 2 days ago. His network has been dismantled. The immediate threat to you and your daughter has been eliminated. I sat back down. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. If the threat is gone, then she can come back. She can come home. Agent Ashford was silent for a long moment. I'm sorry, Mr. Hale. She can't. Why not? You said the threat was neutralized. Volkov was one operative. There are others. Mira's identity as an American agent is now known to multiple foreign intelligence services. If she returns to her previous life, she puts you and your daughter at risk again. She puts herself at risk. The only way to keep all of you safe is for her to remain in hiding. Permanently. Permanently? You mean I'll never see her again? I mean that the woman you knew as Delphine Hale is gone. She cannot exist anymore. Mira Vance will be relocated, given a new identity, assigned to new duties. You will have no contact with her. That's not, you can't just, Mr. Hale. Agent Ashford leaned forward. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear, but Mira asked me to tell you something. She asked me to tell you that the 9 years you had together were the happiest of her life. She asked me to tell you that loving you and Sparrow was the only real thing she ever did. And she asked me to give you this. She reached into her jacket and pulled out an envelope. Plain white. No return address. My name written on the front in handwriting I would recognize anywhere. Delphine's handwriting. Mira's handwriting. She wrote this before she left. She knew she wouldn't be able to say goodbye in person. I took the envelope with trembling hands. Can I read it now? That's up to you, but I should warn you. It won't make this easier. Nothing will make this easier. She stood. I've told you what I came to tell you. The police will be informed that your wife was located and that she left voluntarily due to personal reasons. They will not be told the truth. As far as the world is concerned, Delphine Hale abandoned her family. Your name will be cleared, but your wife will be remembered as a woman who walked away. And I have to live with that? Let everyone think she just left? You have to protect your daughter. You have to give her a chance at a normal life. And that means keeping the truth buried. She walked toward the door. I'm sorry, Mr. Hale, truly. I know how inadequate that sounds. She left. I sat alone in my living room, holding an envelope that contained the last words my wife would ever say to me. And I began to read. My dearest Rafferty, I don't know how to write this letter. I've started it 100 times, and every time the words feel wrong. How do you explain 9 years of lies to someone you love more than anything? I'll start with the truth. My name is Mira Vance. I was born in 1986 in a small town in Pennsylvania. My parents died when I was 8. That part was real. But everything else I told you was a cover story, a fiction designed to create a person who could fit seamlessly into your life. I was assigned to monitor you. Your company had contracts that interested foreign intelligence services, and the NSA wanted someone on the inside to make sure you weren't compromised. That was my mission. That was supposed to be the only thing between us. But then I met you. Do you remember our first conversation? It was at that coffee shop on 3rd Street, the one with the terrible pastries and the beautiful view of the park. You were reading a book about ancient Roman architecture, and I asked you about it, not because I cared about Roman architecture, but because it was an easy way to start a conversation. You talked for 45 minutes, about arches and aqueducts and the mathematics of domes, about how the Romans understood something fundamental about weight and balance that we've been trying to recapture ever since. You were so passionate, so completely absorbed in something you loved, and I remember thinking, this man is different. This man is real. I was supposed to be gathering intelligence. Instead, I was falling in love. By the time we got married, I had already broken a dozen protocols. I had filed requests to be removed from the assignment. I had told my handlers that I couldn't maintain professional distance. They denied every request. They said I was too valuable, that my cover was too good, that I had to stay. So I stayed, and I built a life with you. A real life, with real feelings, even though the foundation was made of lies. When Sparrow was born, I knew I could never leave. Not because of the mission. By then, I barely remembered the mission, but because of her. Because of you, because of the family we had created together. I know you must hate me right now. I know you feel betrayed, manipulated, used, and you have every right to feel those things. I lied to you for 9 years. I let you believe in a person who didn't exist. But Rafferty, the love, was real. Every kiss, every laugh, every quiet moment watching Sparrow sleep, that was me. The real me. The person I might have been if I'd been given a different life. I have to go now. There are people who want to hurt you and Sparrow to get to me, and the only way to keep you safe is to disappear. By the time you read this, I'll be somewhere far away, with a new name and a new face, starting over again. I won't ask you to wait for me. I won't ask you to forgive me. I'll only ask you to do one thing. Tell Sparrow about the mother who loved her. Not the spy, not the agent, not the woman who lied. Tell her about the woman who read her bedtime stories and kissed her scraped knees and held her when she was scared of thunderstorms. That woman was real, Rafferty. She was the best part of me. I love you. I will always love you. And I'm sorry for everything. Mira. There's a box buried in the backyard, beneath the oak tree where Sparrow likes to play. Inside is everything real, about me. Photographs from my childhood, letters from my parents, the few true things I managed to save from my old life. I want Sparrow to have them someday. I want her to know where she comes from. I must have read the letter a dozen times that night. Each time the words hit differently. First anger, then grief, then something that felt almost like understanding. She had lied to me. For 9 years, she had lived a double life, hidden her true identity, pretended to be someone she wasn't. But she had also loved me. That part was real. The way she looked at me across the breakfast table, the way she held my hand during difficult conversations, the way she cried when Sparrow was born, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "She's perfect. She's absolutely perfect." Those moments weren't performances. They were the truth bleeding through the lies. I went to the backyard that night, dug beneath the oak tree with a garden shovel, my hands shaking, my eyes blurred with tears. The box was exactly where she said it would be. Metal, waterproof, sealed with a combination lock. The combination was Sparrow's birthday, a detail she knew I would figure out. Inside were photographs. A little girl with dark hair and serious eyes standing between 2 adults who must have been her parents. Letters written in faded ink, from a mother to a daughter, full of love and advice and hopes for the future. A pressed flower, a charm bracelet, a worn copy of Anne of Green Gables with a child's name written inside the cover, Mira Elena Vance. These were the fragments of a life that had been erased, the evidence that the woman I loved had once been a real person with a real history, before the government remade her into someone else. I put the box in my closet. I would give it to Sparrow someday when she was old enough to understand, when I was ready to explain. But that night, I just sat in the darkness and grieved. For Delphine, who never existed, for Mira, who I would never know, and for the life we had built together, a beautiful lie that had finally collapsed under the weight of its own impossibility. The days after Agent Ashford's visit were strange. True to her word, the police were informed that my wife had been located and had left voluntarily. Detective Greer called me with the news, his voice carefully neutral. "Mr. Hale, it appears your wife chose to leave on her own. We're closing the missing persons case." "And that's it? No explanation?" "We're not privy to the details. Federal authorities have taken over. I'm sorry. I know this isn't the closure you were hoping for." Closure. What a strange word for a situation that would never truly close. The reporters packed up and left within hours of the announcement. Suddenly, I wasn't interesting anymore. Just another man whose wife had walked out on him. Sad, but not newsworthy. Not worth the satellite trucks and camera crews. My friends started calling again. Mark sent a text. "Sorry I ghosted you, man. Didn't know what to believe. Let me know if you need anything." Jennifer, Delphine's friend, reached out with tearful apologies. "I can't believe she would just leave like that. I'm so sorry for how I treated you." I accepted their apologies, their casseroles, their awkward attempts at comfort. I didn't tell them the truth. I couldn't. As far as the world was concerned, Delphine Hale was a woman who had abandoned her family. A cautionary tale. A mystery without resolution. Only I knew the real story, and I would carry that secret for the rest of my life. Explaining things to Sparrow was the hardest conversation I've ever had. She was 8 years old. She had spent 11 days asking where Mommy was, watching strangers with cameras camp outside our house, hearing whispered conversations that stopped whenever she entered a room. How do you explain to a child that her mother is never coming home? Not because she's dead, not because she stopped loving her, but because of reasons too complicated and dangerous to fully explain? I chose my words carefully. Sparrow, I need to tell you something about Mommy. She looked at me with those serious eyes, Mira's eyes, I realized now. Is she coming home? No, sweetheart, she's not coming home. Why? Because there are some bad people who want to hurt her, and to keep us safe, to keep you safe. She had to go somewhere far away, where they can't find her. But why can't we go with her? Because then the bad people would look for us too, and Mommy didn't want that. She wanted you to be safe, to grow up here, to have a normal life. Sparrow was quiet for a long moment. Does she still love me? I pulled her onto my lap, held her tight. She loves you more than anything in the world. That's why she left, because she loves you so much that she would do anything to keep you safe, even if it means being away from you. Will I ever see her again? I hesitated. The honest answer was probably not. The truth was too complex for an 8-year-old to understand. I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe someday, when things are safer. But for now, we have to be brave. We have to take care of each other. She nodded slowly. Daddy? Yes? I miss her. I know, baby. I miss her too. We sat together for a long time, holding each other, crying together, beginning the long process of learning to live without her. 2 years have passed since that Tuesday. I'm 44 now, still living in the same house, still running my architecture firm, still waking up some mornings expecting to see Delphine, Mira, beside me in bed. The grief doesn't go away. It changes, softens, becomes something you can carry instead of something that carries you. But it's always there, a quiet ache beneath the surface of everyday life. Sparrow is 10. She's in 4th grade, playing soccer, making friends, growing up faster than I can keep track of. She still asks about her mother sometimes, less often now, but the questions still come. Daddy, do you think Mommy is okay? I think so, sweetheart. I hope so. Do you think she thinks about us? Every single day. I don't know if that's true. I don't know anything about what Mira's life looks like now, where she is, what name she's using, whether she's happy or lonely or both. Agent Ashford made it clear that there would be no contact, no updates, no way of knowing whether the woman I loved was alive or dead. But I choose to believe she thinks about us. I choose to believe that somewhere, in whatever life she's living now, she still carries us with her. It's the only thing that makes any of this bearable. Last month, something happened. I was picking Sparrow up from soccer practice when I noticed a woman standing at the edge of the field. She was wearing a baseball cap pulled low over her eyes, sunglasses despite the cloudy sky, nondescript clothes that seemed designed to help her blend in. But something about the way she stood, the angle of her shoulders, the tilt of her head, was achingly familiar. I stopped walking, stared. She was watching Sparrow, who was laughing with her teammates, completely unaware. Then the woman turned slightly, and for just a moment our eyes met. My heart stopped. It was her. I don't know how I knew. Her hair was different, shorter and lighter than Delphine's had been. Her face was partially hidden, but some part of me, some deep instinct that transcended logic, recognized her immediately. She held my gaze for exactly 3 seconds. Then she smiled, a small, sad smile that said everything words couldn't. I'm okay, I'm watching, I still love you. She turned and walked away, disappearing around the corner of the school building before I could take a step. I stood frozen, my heart pounding, my eyes filling with tears. She was alive. She was there. She was watching over us from whatever shadows she now inhabited. I didn't follow her. I didn't try to find her. I understood, finally, that this was what our relationship would be now. Glimpses, moments, a love that existed in the spaces between ordinary life. When Sparrow ran over to me, muddy and happy, I scooped her up and held her tight. "What's wrong, Daddy? You're crying." "Nothing's wrong, sweetheart. I just love you very much." "I love you too, Daddy." I carried her to the car, glancing back one more time at the corner where Mira had disappeared. She was gone, but she was also, somehow, still here. And maybe that was enough. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it's not the story you expected. When a wife disappears, the husband is usually guilty or the wife is usually a victim. The neat categories of crime and punishment, villain and hero. But life isn't always that simple. My wife was a spy, an NSA operative who was assigned to monitor me and ended up falling in love with me instead. She lived a double life for 9 years, lying to me every single day, and loving me every single day. When her cover was blown, she had a choice: stay and put us in danger, or leave and keep us safe. She chose to leave. She chose to disappear. She chose to let the world believe she had abandoned her family rather than risk the truth putting us at risk. The person you married, that person doesn't exist. That's what Agent Ashford told me on day 12. And she was right. Delphine Hale was a fiction, a cover story, a carefully constructed identity designed to serve a government mission. But Mira Vance was real. Her love was real. The life we built together was real, even if the foundation was made of lies. I don't know if I'll ever see her again. I don't know if Sparrow will ever meet her mother as an adult, ever learn the full truth about who she was. The future is uncertain, filled with questions that may never have answers. But I know this: I was loved. Truly, deeply, impossibly loved by a woman who gave up everything to keep me safe. That's not nothing. That's everything. It's Saturday morning now. Sparrow is in the kitchen, making pancakes with more enthusiasm than skill. There's flour everywhere, and she's humming a song her mother used to sing. I'm sitting by the window, watching the street outside. Sometimes I imagine I see her out there. A figure in a baseball cap, watching from a distance. A car that slows down just slightly as it passes our house. A face in a crowd that seems almost familiar. Maybe it's real. Maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe it's the ghost of a love that refuses to fully disappear. My wife vanished on a Tuesday. 11 days later, I learned that the person I married didn't exist. But the love was real. And that's the thing about love, isn't it? It survives, it adapts, it finds ways to exist even when everything else falls apart. Delphine is gone. Mira is out there, somewhere, living a life I'll never know. And I'm here, in this house, raising our daughter, carrying the weight of a secret that will stay buried forever. But I'm not alone. I have Sparrow. I have my brother, my mother. I have the memory of 9 years that meant everything to me. And somewhere, in whatever corner of the world she's hiding in, I know Mira is thinking about us. That's enough. For now, that's enough. Now, I want to ask you something. What would you do if you discovered that everything you knew about your spouse was a lie, but their love for you was real? Could you forgive someone who lied to you for years to protect you? Would you wait for them, even if you might never see them again? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, especially anyone who has ever loved someone they couldn't fully understand. Comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story. I'll see you in the next one.